And thanks for watching HBC Channel 25. This is the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau back here to talk St. Mary's athletics and other events going on at St. Mary's University, the Winona campus. And Donny, later on we're going to be talking more in depth about women's soccer. We'll have Eriz Zimmerman, the head coach, and also Rache Gates-Vickery on, one of his players, and we'll find out how their season has been going and what they're up against the next few weeks.
Yeah, we can probably talk to Eric a little bit about how he likes to play in the cold too, because this weather is more conducive to the winter sports, which actually start up as we're taping on Wednesday, and so he might have a few things to talk about. This has been a tough fall for them in terms of weather. It's been definitely sub what he's used to in terms of playing soccer in the fall. So It's been pretty chilly out there.
Yeah, this is the time of year it gets interesting, although the long-range forecast looking a little bit better for the end of October, so hopefully better things to come there. Donny, will start out this show by talking about volleyball, because the volleyball team for St. Mary's doing very well. A big match as we get set to tape on Wednesday against St. Kate's, a team that they're sort of tied with in the conference standings. And coming into that St. Kate's game, they had two terrific performances, one a win, the other a loss, but both against conference teams and ranked teams.
Yeah, it was really a big week last week for the Cardinals, and I know Coach Lester obviously would have loved to have come away with two wins against St. Ben's and Concordia, but a split there with a win against St. Ben's 3-2, and then a loss to Concordia 3-2. He's feeling pretty good about that. I think more than anything, it's kind of a statement for his team, in that we can play with teams that are nationally ranked, and that's important right now, because as they get into the first release of regional polls, which comes out next week, it'll be interesting to see where St. Mary's falls. The MIC conference is so good in volleyball, and it's so deep that it's really interesting. Right now we go into the match against St. Kate's in 7th place, and yet we could easily be ranked in the region because of our strength of schedule outside of the conference. So it'll be interesting to see how that poll unfolds and where St. Mary's ends up. But those two matches are a real good tale of the tape of how St. Mary's is, and to play both those matches, to go 5 sets against two very, very good teams. It says a lot about how talented this team is, and I know Coach Lester was extremely happy with the 3-2 win over St. Ben's, and a little bit disappointed in the loss to Concordia, because they had their chances to win that match, not only in the 4th set but also in the 5th set, and so there was a little bit of disappointment, but also feeling that you took a nationally ranked team to 5 sets, a team that has been in the NCAA tournament each of the last 6 years. So You're playing to the skill level of a team like that. I think it says a lot about your program.
And that 5th set, the reason he was maybe a little disappointed, it was 15-13 the final, so just 2 points. One of those that can go either way. That comes down to a serve here and there, or a missed set or something like that.
Absolutely, and the match really went down. Both of those matches went down to just it was the team that was going to make a mistake, and the St. Ben's match was the same way, and for them to come out with a 17-15 win in that 5th set, I mean, they were both matches that could have gone either way. We could easily be talking about a 3-2 loss to St. Ben's and a 3-2 win against Concordia. Mm-hmm. So I think that it really shows that the conference is that balanced, and there are going to be a lot of matches. I'm sure the one against St. Kate's tonight is going to be the same way, and I know that Mike has said that that's a very important match for them, because they are right in that 5, 6, 7 spot in the conference, and you want to be in that top 6 to get into the conference playoffs. So the matches against teams that are very similar to you in the standings are the very important ones, and it's interesting that the other team that's in that 5, 6, 7 mix is Augsburg, which beat St. Mary's in 5 sets, and I think that's a match that Mike still looks back on and says, that's a match we probably should have won, and now it could come down to those 3 teams battling for 2 spots.
Right, so even added importance to Wednesday nights, and certainly we'll talk more about that next week as we'll have those results. And just one more home match left for St. Mary's. Next Tuesday night already is going to be senior night.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it seems like we just talked about the team starting out their season, and here we are. They're finishing up their home part of their schedule, and senior night on Tuesday against Northwestern. Should be a lot of fun. They got a great group of seniors, a very talented group that I know that Coach Lester is going to miss when they graduate, and all of them are really coming on and having some great success this year. Jess Larson has really done a great job. Courtney Runge, Pam Stanton's has played a little bit and is really contributing when she gets on the court. So it's going to be it'll be a very bittersweet day for the volleyball team, and as every senior day is, it's you're saying goodbye to your seniors, and they're saying goodbye to the St. Mary's court and being able to play in front of home fans. So hopefully what will happen is we get into maybe the 4 spot in the conference and get to host a conference playoff game, and then that they'll get to play in front of their fans again.
Yeah, that'd be great. And you starting to single out individual players, someone who's not a senior but has played very well and coming on strong lately is Jessica Mate. She received an MIAC honor recently.
Yeah, she was an all-conference player last year and has kind of been in the background a little bit to the start and middle of this year. And this last week she really picked it up, getting 19 kills both against St. Ben's and Concordia, which are by far her best performances of the season, and earned her Conference Player of the Week honors, which is obviously a great honor for her, and again talks about the strength of their performance. Because usually when you play 2 matches and you go 1-1, people are going to look at that and not really look to you in consideration for a Player of the Week honors. And yet Jess had a phenomenal 2 matches and was certainly deserving of that honor.
Unlike other teams, it seems like St. Mary's spreads out the kills a little bit more. They have so many hitters they can go to that a player like Amy Kuyak, I think, has been taking more of a backseat role this year, and that's unlike her. She had a terrific freshman season, and then Sarah Gardner has been doing well periodically this year. They just have so many they can go to, and that's one of the reasons why up until recently maybe we haven't heard as much from Jessica.
And I think that's the beauty of this team right now is they do have so many weapons that they can go to. When you've got 5 players that have over 100 kills, that's a very positive statement in terms of how many weapons that you have.
I mean, we had Courtney Runge on the show. We haven't even mentioned her
yet. That's right, exactly. And I think that again, that's one of the beauties of what they have right now. Right now, Jess is playing very well, and she's the one that they're going to. And against St. Kate's, it may be Jessica Larson, it may be Amy Kuyak, it may be Sarah Gardner. There are so many that teams have a hard time shutting down the offense because there are so many different people that they can go to fuel that offense. And Brittany Cherwinka, our senior setter, is doing a phenomenal job of distributing the ball and finding the person that is open and the one that can bring home the kill that they need. And so right now everything is really clicking very well. And I know that as we get to the next couple of weeks of the season, as you're really kind of winding down and really battling for playoff position, every match becomes important, and you want your team to be really clicking on all cylinders. And right now that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and just one more thing on volleyball before we move on. Who do you think their best server is? I've been very impressed with Amy Kuyak this year. I mean, she always seems to put it in the place where it's the most disruptive and gets the other team out of their system.
Well, what's nice is not only Amy, but Sarah Gardner's been doing a very good job as well, as has Jess Mate. So, I mean, again, I think it's one of those things that they don't have just one person. And in volleyball, really everybody that's on the court needs to be able to serve.
That's
and
right.
Right now that's the key. And the key really is to get the ball in play. Make the other team have to pass the ball, and if you can do that, your people are human and they're going to make mistakes, and that's the key is to get that ball in play and make the other team make the plays.
Right. All right. So volleyball, big week for them coming up. Recently, cross country took part in the Eau Claire Invitational as they get ready for the MIAC Championships coming up, and at the Eau Claire Invitational, both teams placing 13th. Out of 19th, and some very good individual finishes.
Yeah, Coach Berndt was very happy with that. It was really, as we started talking about the weather, it was right about when the weather started to turn and started to get a little bit colder, and so that was their first meet where they had to battle some elements, and I know that he was happy with the way they handled that, and David Feather and Rachel Folan have been the leaders all year, and again, they were the leaders for the men's and women's teams again at the Eau Claire Invitational. And I think it's one of those things, as we talk every week, they're on a week, they're off a week, they're on a week, they're off a week, as they get ready for the conference championships at the end of October. And right now I think he's very excited about where they're at, and they'll have a meet this weekend, and then they'll have another off week, and then they'll get ready for conference championships. So I think he's feeling pretty good about where they're at. Obviously, times need to continue to drop if they're going to make any type of a run in the conference championships. But I think where they're at right now, as of October 14th, he's feeling pretty good.
Right, and we had David and Ward on not too long ago, and we talked about that time gap and how you train and all of that. So yeah, I think they've got to be pleased with where they're at now.
Yeah, he's feeling really well, and again, it's one of those things that you just need to kind of just continue to battle. And as the temperatures drop and you're outside training, he's obviously got to keep everybody healthy, and that's another concern and another one of those variables that you've got to constantly be battling with. And so far, talked to him today, everybody seems to be healthy, so that's a good sign right now.
In golf action, Donnie, the MIAC Championships were held recently. The men went to a 10th place finish, the women 8th, and so their season's winding down, and in fact finish now as well.
Yeah, I know Coach Stengel was very happy with the with the performances of both teams, and he was very happy that the rain and the snow that we got last weekend hadn't happened the weekend before when they were at the conference championships. And I think that there were some very good individual performances. If you look on the women's side, Gia Pooch had a first round 79, which actually had her tied for the lead after the opening round of the 54-hole tournament, which is an awesome display for her, and it was her career best round. And Caitlin Ridzi in her final conference championship had 3 rounds in the mid-80s, which is very good shooting for her, and she's been consistently. I know we talked the last time we had a show that she's really needs to be in that mid to low 80s, and that's right where she was, and she she did a really nice job and played very well. And on the guys' side, the seniors stole the show. Tony Hines did very well, and Rob Klein did very well, and both of those in the 3 days each had 2 rounds in the 70s. So they did what they needed to do. They needed that 3rd round to be in the 70s if they were going to be in the top 20, and they couldn't quite get that. Each one adding an 85 to their 2 rounds in the 70s. So they're there. Unfortunately for those two, that was their last their last hurrah, so to speak. And but I think it was a nice way for them to go out, is to really play well in that tournament. They were supposed to play in another 54-hole tournament last weekend. First round got snowed out. They played the 2nd round, and then the 3rd round got snowed out. So I think they're probably glad that the golf season is over.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, yeah, an unlikely opponent won that last one, the Twin Cities Classic. It was Mother Nature.
That's right. She certainly did. They
did have an official winner, though, right?
Yeah, they did. St. John's won that meet. It was they actually narrowed it from a 54-hole tournament to 18, but it was even that round that they played. Coach Stengel said it was just miserable out there. It was cold and wet and not really golf weather.
Sure. And it's really not soccer weather either lately, although the men's soccer team has been doing the best they can. Last Friday, I was talking to you earlier, just miserable weather conditions, but they're out there in shorts and everything and trying to play some soccer. Unfortunately, lately, the goals just not coming for the men's team.
Yeah, right now that's a problem. They've lost their last 2 games by shutout, including Friday night against McAllister. They lost 1-0. And, I talked to Coach Dembeck after that game, and it's, they're not that far away. They keep creating, and I'm sure when we get Eric on here, he's going to say the same things. They're creating some good offensive opportunities. They're just not finishing. And right now, in this league, you create those opportunities, you've got to finish them. You've got to put the ball in the net. And John Safransky can only do so much. And, he had 12 saves against McAllister, and that's a phenomenal performance on his part. But, you let one in a game like that, if you're not scoring that 1 goal, you might as well, it's like having 8 goals against you. It doesn't matter because you haven't put any in the net. So, right now that's their problem, is they need to generate some offense, and not only generate it but also finish up on it. And I know Coach Dembeck is a little frustrated with that because they're so close. I mean, the game against McAllister was a great game. It wasn't one of those where St. Mary's was just hanging on and trying to survive. They were right there. They were playing, matching them toe for toe and step for step. They made one mistake. McAllister made them capitalize, and they could not capitalize on any of their chances.
It seems like offensively what Coach Dembeck is saying is they've got the ball in the middle of the field all the time offensively, not around the outside where they can try to generate a little more.
Yep, it's one of those things you teach your younger kids. You want to get the ball to the outside to work it to the inside, and right now they're trying to jam everything in the middle. Well, that's where all the people are. You always protect the middle. That's your job as a defender, and I'm sure Rachel can attest to that. Her job is to make sure you stay out of the middle. Well, if you keep trying to jam it to the middle, that's right where everybody is. So, you're trying to convince 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and I think eventually once they figure out you get it to the outside, move it to the middle once you get toward the box, I think you're going to find some success. And, it's not for lack of effort. I mean, they're playing very well, It's just that they need to create more offense, and somebody needs to step up. We talked about that earlier, that they were getting some good offense from a number of different people, but right now it's just like everybody is pretty quiet, and they need to shake themselves up a little bit, and hopefully, there's a lot of soccer left to be played, and hopefully they can turn things around.
Well, I know two people who won't be quiet, and that's because we're not going to let them. Eriz Zimmerman, the women's head hockey coach, and Rache Gates-Vickery, they'll be on next right here on the Cardinals Nest. Stay tuned.
These days, everyone's talking about saving the environment.
And at HBC, we're doing the little things that you can do that really make a difference.
Like recycling our bottles and cans.
Or shutting down our computers at night to help save electricity.
Or setting out bins for our excess paper waste.
And even something as simple as turning off the lights.
At HBC, being green is just another way we're helping to build a better community.
For more tips on having a green lifestyle, visit our website, my.hbci.com/green.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Dean Beckman, Donny Nadeau, joined by Eriz Zimmerman and Rache Gates-Vickery from the women's soccer team here. Eric is the head coach, and Rachel, you're one of Eric's players. Before we get too far into this interview, tell us about yourself, how you got started with soccer, where you're from, and what you're majoring in at St. Mary's, and how you landed at St. Mary's.
I'm from New Brighton in Minnesota. It's just 20 minutes outside the Twin Cities. And I don't know, I probably started playing soccer when I was really little, and I've always wanted, it's my passion. I've always wanted to play, and St. Mary's gave me that opportunity to play, so I'm glad to be here. And I'm majoring in history. I would like to be an archaeologist, but a history teacher is my backup plan.
Super, that's terrific. Eric, it's got to be nice to have Rachel on the team. Has academic plans, obviously has a passion for soccer too.
Yeah, it's always good when you have players who love the sport and aren't just there just to participate and stay involved. I always appreciate those players who have that passion. That's for sure.
Eric, talk a little bit about the season thus far. It's been kind of a roller coaster ride for you. You've had plenty of ups and plenty of downs. Just kind of sum up how things have been going so far.
Well, right now we're 7-5-1, so we're on pace for a winning season, which would be a pretty significant turnaround compared to last year's record. We have had some ups and downs. We've been very successful with our non-conference schedule, but getting into the heart of the conference, we've had some good results, but we've also had some pretty frustrating results. For example, we took McAllister into overtime when they were ranked nationally, I believe, 16th, and we gave them quite a scare, and we were actually up on them 1-0 for most of the game until the final 10 minutes when unfortunately, we got a penalty kick called against us for a handball, and they tied the game up and then won in the second overtime, which was very disheartening for us because we felt like we deserved the match, and we even got complimented by the opposing team's coach in terms of how we played. So maybe an example of an up and a down at the same time, but we've also played some of the tougher teams, and even though we were able to play with them on the field, the score didn't necessarily reflect that. Last night we lost to Olaf 3-0. We were able to create chances, but unfortunately not able to score as we would have liked.
Rachel, this will be a good question for you because you are a sophomore, so you did play last year, and it seems like to me the biggest difference is last year there were a lot of games, especially in the conference, that you really didn't compete. You couldn't keep up with the teams. This year there are very few games that it's not a one-goal game and that you're not into it. Do you see a big difference between the team that you played on last year and the team that you have this year?
I don't know if there's a huge difference, but there's definitely a lot more chemistry, and we're just we're driven. We are determined to have more success this year rather than last year. Everybody comes to practice to show up to play. We all want to be there. We all want results. We're all in there for the same thing.
And Eric, you talked about that near win over McAllister. You also this year picked up your first conference win, which was something you weren't able to do last year. That had to be a big relief and sort of a one monkey off your back to get that first conference win.
Yeah, it was a huge relief. I never thought coming in it'd take me more than a full season to get that first win, but it was a nice win and a good result against a decent opponent. Now St. Kate's is down a little bit this year, but they ended up beating McAllister, so it just kind of a reflection of how competitive our conference is as a whole. So.
Can you talk a little bit about the conference, because really it is, you know, you look at the MIAC and top to bottom, it is such a tough conference.
Right.
And I know we talk about that on this show all the time, but can you just kind of talk a little bit about the toughness of our conference in soccer?
Yeah, very, very competitive from top to bottom. You know, last year and this year, it seems like, you know, you can't predict what the results are going to be in terms of who's playing who, because there's always a few teams that are on the bottom of the conference that surprise some of those tougher teams on the top. I believe it's one of the most competitive conferences actually in the nation, and you know, when we're recruiting, we talk to our recruits about, you know, playing in a game where every conference game is a battle. Just if you know, want to be a part of that, that's something that, you know, we're excited about, because you know, you just never know how the game's going to go or what the result of the game's going to be. It makes it a bit more exciting that way.
You know, switching gears just a little bit, Rachel, I know you were a two-sport star at New Brighton. You come here and you're doing something that really very few people do, and that's play two sports at the Division III level, not only women's soccer but women's hockey. Talk about that adjustment from high school playing two sports to coming to college and playing two sports.
It's really different. The commitment level at the collegiate level is a lot higher. But you know, I think at St. Mary's they accept it. They want people, they encourage people to play, you know, play what you want to play, and they allow you to have time to do that, and the coaches are very supportive of it, and it's hectic balancing the two, but I get through it.
You know, I think on top of that, you know, you talk about freshmen and sophomores coming in and just being able to handle the studies, the academic portion of it, and most student athletes can do that for one season. You have to do it literally until the end of February. How are you able to juggle that for such a long period of time?
A lot of focus on academics, which, you know, during sports we have to do study tables, you know, at least twice a week, which is very helpful. Again, you can't play if you don't have good grades, so that's definitely something that keeps me going.
Eric, talk about some other players on your team a little bit. You've certainly relied on Amy Sibick for the bulk of the offense this year.
Yeah, she's had a great season in terms of scoring goals for us. I think she just continues to grow and continues to be a more dangerous player, and so she's very, very solid for us. Mariana Sanchez, our goalkeeper, has also been very solid. I think I've probably heard from a lot of other coaches in terms of how impressed they are that she, you know, could potentially be an all-conference keeper by the end of the season. That's how solid she's played for us.
You know, real quick, while we're on Mariana, she was on the show last year, of course, and now she's got this dance thing going on after victories in the middle of the field. Is that right?
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, you know, I was concerned. You know, when we scored a goal, it just seemed to be, you know, been there, done that type of attitude, and I really emphasize to the players, you know, celebrate, because you
have
know,
some fun with
in the
it,
game of soccer, I mean, you know, the score is usually fairly low, and you don't see very many goals, and so if you get the opportunity to score a goal, it could be that it's the only goal of the game, and that gets you a result. So, you know, we've really encouraged them to have fun and be excited about scoring, and so Mariana's really taken that to heart, and after we've scored goals, she's dancing and it gets the fans excited.
That's great. Yeah.
Yesterday during a game at Olaf, you know, during the warm-ups, she's in goals trying to make saves and dancing in between shots being taken. So
I don't suppose you want to demonstrate the dance, do you?
No, no. I'll leave that for her.
But Eric, besides Mariana and Amy and Rachel, who are some other players that you look to for some leadership this year?
Well, our two senior captains, Mariana's a captain as well, are Steph Marnaka and Kira Metcalf, and they've really provided a lot of leadership for us. Steph Marnaka actually in our last game against River Falls scored the winning goal for us, and she's usually our playmaker who dishes the ball and gets it where it needs to be, but she was able to step up for us when we needed her and put it in the back of the net. And Kira's played up top for us at forward and in the midfield, and she's just a very talented player that always creates opportunities and can be very dangerous when she gets in the final third of the field. So,
you know, I think the one player that to me has really stepped up her game is Dana Winkler. You know, she's come a long way in terms of you know, offensively. Is she another one that was a surprise a little bit this year?
Definitely. I'm glad you brought her up, because we actually asked her to switch roles this year. She went from being a defender last year to being a more offensive-minded player, playing in the center mid position for us, and she's scored a few goals, and she's also been very dangerous. So yeah, we've asked her, like I said, to switch roles. That can sometimes be a big task, but she's really done very well with that.
Eric, how about for you? We asked Rachel about the difference last year to this year, and as far as team attitude goes, what's the difference for you as the head coach between years here?
Well, I would agree with Rachel that our chemistry has been a lot more solid this year. I just think when we came into the season, you know, it's primarily the same squad as we had as last year, but we really emphasized being competitive, especially in those conference matches, and being passionate and enthusiastic about coming out and playing the game, and that it's a privilege to be a part of college soccer. So I think that's really helped us in terms of the results and our record to this point. And the other thing is, I think it's just familiarity and them getting to know me better and me getting to know them, and not only as a team but getting to know individual players as well. I think you know that's been better as well, so that just helps.
Yeah. Were you able to adjust the system in any way since you knew who you had coming into this year a little bit better?
Yeah, it was a lot easier coming in this year knowing where to put people and you know, being able to use people's strengths compared to last year, definitely.
You know, we were joking before we got you guys on about the weather. Rachel, can you talk a little bit about playing? And I mean, when it's 30 degrees out, you're playing a night game at 7 o'clock, and believe me, I'm standing on the sidelines. It's cold. Does it affect how you play, or do you play differently in the cold?
I think it does affect it, not to, you know, a huge scale, but I personally love playing in the rain, and you know, it excites me. But I think in the beginning, you know, the beginning of the game, you know, it's a little chilly. We just took off our sweats. You know, it takes us a few minutes to really get into the swing of things. But, you know, about 10 minutes in, you're fine. It's just a game. You're playing. You're numb. You don't feel anything anyways, so you just fight through the pain.
So it's just us that are cold.
Right.
Staff and us workers.
It also impacts the subs who come off the bench because they've been sitting and get cold. So I think those are the folks that it has the most impact on, are the folks that we ask to come in, you know, in the middle of the game.
You know, one of the things that we've done differently this year, you and Chris both, is we do play a lot more night games. Rachel, talk about playing at night. I mean, is it enjoyable to be under the lights and rather than, you know, your basic 4 o'clock afternoon game?
Yeah, we've actually only had a few, I think, night games, but it's definitely, everybody loves playing under the lights, you know. Usually there's a larger crowd coming to watch, which is definitely supportive, you know. Just seeing the crowd there makes us play better, I think, play harder. But it's fun playing under the lights.
All right. Well, good luck the rest of the season. And Rachel, hope you get more rain for your few remaining games here. All right. Eriz Zimmerman, Rache Gates-Vickery from the women's soccer team. Stay tuned. Donnie and I will be back with more on the Cardinals Nest right after this.
The weather affects us each day. It determines how we dress, our family plans, even our mood. And while HBC TV 25 can't control the weather, we can provide you the information you need to plan better. We'll bring you the latest weather information featuring state-of-the-art forecast equipment and Doppler radar. Plus, you'll be able to find weather 24/7 on my.hbci.com. HBC TV 25, your news and now weather source.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC, just in time to talk about a few things that are coming up at St. Mary's University, non-sporting related. And we'll start off with a new art display at the Lillian Davis Hogan Art Gallery. Chris Ayers, who is a Los Angeles character designer, and also Maureen Costa, an Arizona sculptor, will display their work through November 11th. The SMU show by Ayers is called The Daily Zoo, and it's going to include a variety of sketches which are now published in a book called The Daily Zoo, Keeping the Doctor at Bay with a Drawing a Day. And also Costa's display has work that serves as a metaphor about the religious imagination, reincarnation, and the changing states of consciousness. Admission is free, open to the public, and the hours at the gallery are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And finally, the Heart of the Beast Puppet and Mask Theater will be conducting a workshop on the use of puppets and storytelling in the classroom. That'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 20th. The cost of the workshop is $15. You can contact Jennifer Finello at 457-1716 for more information. And that's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. For Donny Nadeau, I'm Dean Beckman. Thanks for watching here on HBC.